Hello, welcome back to another episode of cedh Bling Builds, where today we'll talk about Elsha of the Infinite in 2023. Does she have what it takes to be viable in today's metagame? Before we go any further, I want to talk about Jeskai in particular. Now, as an individual, I have a personal bias for Jeskai. I kind of really like the aspect of Jeskai. Like I like the lore, I like the art of Jeskai. I like these Shaolin monks, in the mountains. But they all have the same fundamental problem. You can't really run a Jeskai tribal deck because all these juicy Jeskai creatures care about slinging spells, whether it's Narset or Elsha or a personal favorite of mine, Shuyun. This was my tiny leaders general 100 years ago. So back then I liked doing custom foil peels and gold leaf. What a loser. But you can't really run a Jeskai tribal deck. Even the non-legendaries like Monastery Mentor. So it's such a cool card. Or there's the other one that the red, the Boros one. Even in other formats like a Monastery Swift Spear, she cares about the prowess triggers and spell slinging. So Elsha has the same problem. Her bottom line, her bottom ability is flipping the top card if it's a non-land, non-creature. And so you kind of want to keep creature counts low in a deck like Elsha if you're playing for value, right? So that's like unfortunate. But let's talk about the thumbnail too. I hate to go off on a tangent here. So I was looking for inspiration for a thumbnail, and I was looking. I was like, oh, Elsha is this chick who does kung fu, right? Like a kung fu movie. Kung fu movies were huge in the '70s, big part of American culture in the '70s. Americans from that era love fucking kung fu movies. The same type of people who are weebs in today's era. And I was like, okay, well, Elsha's like a chick. She's a chick because she's a djinn. Usually the male djinns are like buff and shirtless. She's not, so she's got to be a chick, right? Hiding her mammaries. So let's look up like a female kung fu movie. And I came across Miss Kung Fu. Now, I don't watch kung fu movies. I don't particularly care about kung fu movies. But the more I scrolled through Google Images, specifically for Miss Kung Fu, and the more I kept seeing like her as an older woman. So I was like, all right, who is this actress? Her actress name is Angela Mao. Who is she? So I read up about her, and it turns out like she's regarded as like the Bruce Lee, the female Bruce Lee. That's kind of like a big deal, right? What a title to have. And I think she just gave it all up. She just gave up her career at the height of its popularity, to just run a Chinese restaurant here in New York City. And so I was like, oh, she's in New York City. Is she still alive? She's still alive. And so I look her up her restaurant on Google Maps. She's like 10 minutes away from me. So I might check out Angela Mao's restaurant, which I found pretty cool. Anyway, let's get into the deck. Elsha Deck Tech starts with Kaikar. With Kaikar on board at Jeskai in 1, we're going to get value and start to spam some spirits on board. You could sack those spirits to make a red. So what we'll do is we'll eventually find and cast a Divergent Transformations, which is an instant, so you can do it on your opponent's turn. With Undaunted, which I've never seen on any other card before, makes this mana cost a lot less. We'll cast our Divergent Transformation, finding the only 2 creatures in the deck, a Trinket Mage and an Elsha of the Infinite. The Trinket Mage will get our LED, and with the Elsha's ability, we'll be able to do our, not LED, sorry. I ruined the whole joke. We'll find our Sensei's Top. With the Sensei's Top and Kite Car, the spirits that we sack will produce the cost for the top. We'll do the top combo with Elsha, filter through the deck, and sculpt a win from there. Just kidding. See what I did there? See? The joke is that a Kite Car is just an Elsha deck in disguise. That's a meme. That's a meme build. All right, let's get back to the actual deck tech. Elsha of the Infinite is a future sight on legs. If you find yourself a cost reducer, you could find a Sensei's Top, draw through the whole deck, and sculpt a win. A lot of people will put like a Thassa's Oracle or a Aetherflux Reservoir in their deck. I don't even own an Aetherflux Reservoir anymore. I sold that a long time ago because I think it's just completely outclassed in 2023. I think it's completely outclassed when I sold it, I think early 2022. So you don't need those cards in the deck. If you're on a budget, you don't have, a strong Underworld Breach because you don't have like a Lion's Eye Diamond, maybe run them as alternate win cons. We'll find an alternate win con in the deck in just a second. But for me, the Thassa's Oracle and the Aetherflux Reservoir would kind of be like poor card quality. Like I don't want to draw into them outside of a combo. Aetherflux doesn't do anything on its own. It's very, very heavily costed on its own outside of a combo. Thoracle doesn't do much for me. And so those will make the cut. If you're on a budget, even though I think legacy players are like abusing the shit out of Thassa's Oracle, so the price of Thoracle might be really, really at an all-time high. I don't know. So Elsha Top, that's the name of the game. Find a top and a cost reducer. I need new sleeves. And a cost reducer, and then you're off to the races. That's a 3-card permanent combo. So already we know that Elsha probably can't compete at the S tier tables. She's still really, really good, but being a 3-card permanent combo puts us at a huge disadvantage. Let's look at some of the cost reducers. We have Ethereum Sculptor, Enthusiastic Mechanaut, and a Helm of Awakening. There's a handful of others that didn't make the cut for me, like a old school Foundry Inspector, and this Sten Paranoid Partisan Hack, who will ETB, and you choose a card type other than creature or land, and those spells will cost 1 less to cast. What's cool about, and these are good budget alternatives for another card we'll see later on. What's cool about these 3 is that they are artifact creatures, so that you could like transmute, like Whir of Invention, or fabricate into them. So that's something to keep in mind. Burgi is a very, very important part of this deck. Burgi's front side, whenever we cast a spell, will float a red. And so in a way, that red could be used to pay for the top, to do a top combo. So in a way, Burgi's a pseudo cost reducer. And then there's some flavor text down here. And then Burgi's backside kind of acts like Elsha, where we'll discard a card, exile the top 2 cards, and you play those cards this turn. And so as long as you're able, so in this regard, she's like a weird Elsha if you have like a cost reducer on board, because you'll play the top, and then you'll draw and put the top on the top, and you'll discard that card, and then the Hornfill bloop, bloop, bloop the two cards. One of those cards will be a top. And so it's like the same thing. You know who else is like the same thing? Reality Chip. Reality Chip, and though in you know, it's not a good card. Because Elsha is just a 3-color Reality Chip deck. So there's that. If you want to really take down the power level down of Elsha, you could run like a Reality Chip deck. Yeah, or maybe Sten. Run Sten. Yeah, Sten could be like a power down Elsha, right? But then we need the Reality Chip in the deck. But you're in white. There's like a white tutor that tutors up like sagas, snows, and legendaries, legendary permanents, something like that, legendary cards. So all that could go into like a budget Elsha, a sans red Elsha deck. Of course, being in Jeskai, we have access to Underworld Breach. All the disgusting things we could do with Underworld Breach. Normally, we have Brain Freeze in the deck as a way to feed our Underworld Breach. In this deck, though, the Brain Freeze will act like a win condition. Remember I had said earlier about that card quality? Not too many combo-specific cards in here. Like since the ISO-Rev combo is not in here. And so every card in this deck acts independently. And with that said, your game-winning combos have to be very, very creative. Being in Jeskai, we have access to the one of the most busted intuition piles available to us, which would be a Savine's Reclamation, the Lion's Eye Diamond, and the Underworld Breach. Most of the time, your opponent's going to give you the Lion's Eye Diamond. It doesn't matter, though, because from there, you're going to get online an Underworld Breach turn, and that would be a wrap at that point. Being in Jeskai colors, we have access to a very broken Spellseeker line. And so let's look at that right now. Spellseeker will ETB, and she'll find Ephemerate. You'll Ephemerate your Spellseeker. Spellseeker will ETB, finding a Final Fortune. You'll cast your Final Fortune, taking your extra turn. The rebound will hit the Spellseeker. The Spellseeker will ETB, and it will find an Enlightened Tutor. Cast your Enlightened Tutor, and you will find an Underworld Breach on the top of the deck. Draw your Underworld Breach, and bing, boom, bam, you have an Underworld Breach turn. Now, we're under a Final Fortune, so you better wrap it up immediately. Make sure you're able to close the game out that turn. There's no dual caster mage combo in this deck, so it would have to be like a Brain Freeze, mill all the opponents out, and Windfall or some shit like that. Elsha has another unique and creative win with Swords to Plowshare. If you forgot, because it's easy to forget, Elsha of the Infinite has prowess. And so while we're getting the combo online with the Sensei's Top, playing it, but bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, right? Putting it on top, playing it, put it on top, sack, blah, 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 blah. We're going to give Elsha a ton of prowess triggers. Now, she's going to be really big. What are you going to do? You're going to attack one opponent for a game? You know what? You could, right? Maybe they have an Emrakul in their deck because they roll zeroed it or something. Maybe they have a Titan in their deck for absolutely no reason. And so when you Brain Freeze all the other opponents and Cyclonic Rift the Titan player, you could then play the 1v1 game. But what we're going to do, we're going to Swords to Plowshare our Elsha of the Infinite. And because of Swords to Plowshare, we're going to gain like a whole lot of life. From there, we're going to pay X and a single red to Rolling Earthquake the board. Usually X will be high enough to kill everyone. It doesn't matter what X is because we're going to be ahead on life points because of the prowess triggers. Because Elsha let us gain 60, 70, 80 points of life. Now, I said earlier there is no dramatic reversal Ice Crown Scepter in here, so how else will we make a lot of mana to pay for the X? We could eventually find a Berkey when we're cycling through, filtering through the deck with our Sensei's Top. Not a problem. And so we'll have the cost reducer that's doing the loop, and then we'll have the red mana to pay for the large rolling earthquake. There's another card that we'll see a little bit later that will also help us with our rolling earthquake. Our counters package. We're in white. You have to use a silence. Silence is a great card. When you're ready to close out the game, cast a silence. Usually that ends in a concession, right? And makes you wonder if you need the other parts of the combo in the deck at all, right? Do you even need an Underworld Breach and an LED, Brain Freeze, the Thassa's Oracle, Tainted Pact? If you're just going to cast Silence and everyone scoops, think about it. We have a red Elemental Blast and a Pyroblast. We have a Deflecting Swat and a Misdirection. Misdirection is a really good card. When I'm not in black, and I don't have to worry about the high CMC of Misdirection conflicting with my ad nauseum, I like to run it. A lot of people are on Mindbreak Trap, but what they fail to understand is that these local cEDH pods are very much on stacks, and so no one's playing 4 cards that turn. You're never going to cast a free Mindbreak Trap. It's not going to happen. This is why I've never ever been on a Mindbreak Trap. Just not for me. But I do like Misdirection a lot. We have Mental Misstep, Dispel, Flusterstorm, An Offer You Can't Refuse, Swan Song, Delay, Fierce Guardianship, Pact of Negation, and a Force of Will. A notable exclusion is a Force of Negation. I'm winning on my turn, and ideally I should be faster than my opponents, even though I'm putting 3 permanents on board. So it's a card I'll look out for, because this deck is kind of equipped to play the mid-range game. So just follow the Moxfield link below to see like how the deck changed when it's played in real life. We got a lot of Winota decks, a lot of Najeela decks, a lot of Breach decks out there, boys and girls. So Blue Elemental Blast is secret tech. It does make the cut. I'll see how it goes. It might just be the Force of Negation. Our removal package, just looking to eliminate the 1 or 2 pieces that are slowing us down before we combo off. We have a Resculpt, Wear and Tear, Path to Exile, Delayed Blast Fireball. Really good card. Doesn't do anything against a Drannith Magistrate, but you can't win every battle. Alchemist Retrieval, Chain of Vapor, March of Swirling Mist, Cyclonic Rift. Let's look at our tutor package. We saw earlier the Intuition and the Lane Tutor. We have here Gamble, Mystical Tutor, Word of Invention, Reshape, and a Transmute artifact. So I'm fortunate enough to own a Transmute artifact, but if we're looking for like cheaper budget alternatives for an Elsha deck, you can run a Fabricate. and maybe an Oswald Fiddlebender. He's a weird one because you're just trying to find a Sensei's top. So you're going to have to sack a 0 CMC rock, a 0 CMC artifact, or like a treasure. So I don't know how you find that on a budget. Rituals, we have a Rite of Flame and a Jessa's Will. We have some wheels. The wheels are important aspect of his deck because it could fill our graveyard up during our breach turns, sure, but we're going to need to use a wheel to close out the game once we mill everybody with a huge brain freeze. So we have a Windfall, Wheel of Fortune, and a Time Twister. This could be a Wheel of Misfortune. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm going to want it to be a Wheel of Misfortune when I play in real life. Looking at the rest of the deck, we have a very, very teeny tiny creatures package. I want the more staple creatures like that you'll find in Jeskai builds. I don't know. I want a Jeskai deck that fights. So I guess Hanada. I mean, just Jeskai colors, but it's not like the Jeskai clan. Hanada is a beater, heavy midrange deck. Who else is there? I guess the partner combination. You could probably put that Ojutai bird. Who Ojutai? Oh, yeah. Is that what his name is? That stupid bird, the white blue one with the Jeska. That could be a nice pairing because you could find a lot of the same stuff in this deck, but play more mid-range and beat down with the bird. I don't know. Seeming Spirit Guide to go fast Berber. Grand Abolisher to hush the board on my turn. We have the Foil Abolisher. I need new sleeves. A Ranger Captain of Eos, who finds his one and only friend in this deck, Esper Sentinel. It's so weird. Once upon a time, white was like the weakest, most neglected color in a Jeskai, in a white X deck. But now I have to keep up 1, 2, 3, and 1 and 3 white for like a turn like this, which is crazy. Which actually, we'll see how that's reflected in the mana base. Imperial Recruiter, it could get like one of those artifact creature cost reducers, and it could get a Spellseeker. And then finally, a Dockside Extortionist, which I will never ever upgrade because he could get banned any second. Our enchantments, artifacts, and lands, we have a Rhystic Study, a Mystic Remora, a Smothering Tithe, which you could say is just a win more card, right? It's too slow, yada yada. But for us, when we're doing like breach wheels and trying to pay for a rolling earthquake, this can help tremendously. For whatever reason, our Berkey is not available and our brain freeze is not available. So I'll keep an eye on how this performs. Our rocks, we have a Lotus Petal, a Jeweled Lotus, which I'm so glad I didn't get the extended foil because that masterpiece is coming out soon. Springly Shrum, Talisman of Creativity, Talisman of Progress, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, Chrome Mox Opal, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, and a Mana Crypt. Wrapping things up with our lands, we have all 9 fetches. We have just 1 island. Just in case I sense that an opponent's on like a blood moon, right? If you're like in a 1 to 2 color red deck, they're most likely on a blood moon. Just tutor up an island when you see that. We have our 3 shocks. We have our 3 duels. We have an Ancient Tomb to go fast, a Berber, an Atawara to get us out of a jam if one's presented, kind of like an uncounterable Alchemist Retrieval, right? Now, since we're in an Artifacts Matters deck, we have like these weird land selection that really helps out in these sort of decks. There are more of them, but I had to trim it down to the most important ones because finding the top is just that important. We have a cedh. This can just help us with our reshape and a word and a transmute artifact. Could be fodder for that. Urza Saga and Inventor's Fair. There's also like Buried Ruin and Academy, whatever, Ruins. If I lose the top in the yard, I just have to switch to a Underworld Breach strategy. Not a big deal. And then wrapping things up, we have just the Rainbow Lands, the full suite. You have a Gemstone Cavern, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard, Forbidden Orchard, Gemstone Mine, which could be a Spire of Industry. I'll see how that goes. Because, this, like I said, this could be a mid-range deck. So, if I can't go that fast, and then this dies, and then I'm like behind on land, because now it's like a turn where I can't cast a Smothering type, and I'm going into like a mid-range mode. Yeesh. Mana Confluence, and a 7th Ed City of Brasserino. And there you have it. Elsha in 2023. Do I think she can compete? I don't know. What her main strategy is like highly telegraphed, and by now your opponents know what to expect. So you're not going to catch anyone off guard or by surprise, and not by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, you guys always ask about these. Actually, hold on. Let's do something really cute. Oh, a Trinket Mage. Sorry, before we continue, Trinket Mage is another budget alternative for the, if you can't find the transmute artifacts. So you guys always wonder about these sleeves. I'm such a nerd when it comes to like sleeves. So we have the Elsha, who's just a bald-headed Djinn. So I pair it with a Mewtwo, Mew. I don't know what names of Pokemon. Excuse me. But we saw earlier that Kaikar is really just an Elsha deck in disguise. And so, Kaikar being a bird, we have like this flying guy. And then sometimes I'm a bit of like a snob. I'll pair my commanders with these illegal cards. And so they too are on theme. Nerd shit. Sometimes some of you guys appreciate this nerd shit. Anyway, thank you so much, and ta-ta.